Okay, so welcome to my live stream. Now what I'll be doing a live reading. Yeah, so it's just waiting. Hi, Delightful Mystery. Hey guys. So I'll be doing a live reading in this. I'll also be doing a Q&A. So hope you guys have some questions. So let's get started. Thank you so much, Delightful Mystery. I really hope when you do read it that you really like it. Yeah. All right. So if you've been watching my videos, I'm Anna Finch. So I'm a self-published author and a self-published Aussie author. Now I do have a couple of announcements. So my book is officially out. It came out on Tuesday, but I'm doing my book launch today because I teach full time. So anyway, so it's now available on Amazon, Kobo, Nook, Google Play, Apple, pretty much anywhere both print and ebooks are sold. You can order the print books via Amazon or through your local bookstores. Also, I have finally finished the hardback and large print editions of Voiceless. Now, those two books are set to come out. Those two editions are set to come out on the 8th of March next year. It'll give me some time to fix any issues with the cover and all that, but it's all pretty much set and ready to go. All right. So I'm gonna read probably the prologue and possibly the first chapter of Voiceless. Yeah, and then we can do some Q&A, but hope you guys like it. Okay. Now, okay, so excited. Okay, so prologue. I'd always known I was different. I'd just never realized how peculiar I was. In most ways, I appeared to be like the other maidens that lived beneath the sea. Not that I had a choice. Mermaids were expected to be demure and to respect their betters, which were always men. Our voices within society were stolen from us because of what happened in our past. We all learned the story as mer children. Zorabella used to be a city like any other on the surface. People would barter on the streets to get a deal, and merchants would shout to draw attention to their stalls. Children could run and laugh freely, but not anymore. As mer children, we were taught better. They taught us our place within society. For the men, their place was within their station. The son of a merchant could not become a lord, and the son of a servant could only be a servant. Maidens, regardless of the station they were born in, could learn only what their fathers would allow. We learned that our life, our word, was worth less than a man's. As a mer child, I never understood why maidens were treated like this, not until I heard the story of the fall. Then I knew it was our punishment for the actions of our goddess. As mer children, we were told that our goddess Gaia brought about the downfall of our city because we no longer wished to follow her strict rules. Abaddon, my grandfather, wanted to rule the kingdom based on his values and not the values of a goddess who rarely made appearances before us. He ordered the death of a criminal favored by her, leading to our curse. And so, upon our fall, he ensured that no maiden would ever have the power to cause such damage again. None of my tutors ever went into more detail. I would always ask, what did the criminal do? Why did Gaia care so much about a criminal? Every time I asked those questions, I was told that it didn't matter and that maidens shouldn't ask questions. But I had so many questions. My curiosity led me to my father's private archives, which contained memory orbs that recorded our history. Only the record keepers and those with father's permission could enter. But by that age, I had already learned how to bypass the passive perimeter wards without notifying father, through sneaking into the lessons of magic that the sons of nobles had. The spell Lakof et Haganot, bypass the protection, was simple to cast as it didn't alter the wards, just allowed someone to slip past them without activating the defenses. And in those archives, I learned that our curse was the punishment for failing her test. The criminal in the story was a legacy and a high priestess from a temple in Athens. Java was a weary traveller. She had broken one of our laws and was sentenced to death. What I saw and felt within that orb terrified me. I experienced everything they did at the moment the curse was cast. The magic that stifled their breath, the bones that broke and twisted into a new shape, the legs being joined to form a fishtail, the weight of the curse that suppressed our ability to feel. I felt it all as a merchild. The love they felt for their children and their wives that was once all-consuming became muted to the point their connections became a duty. I felt their pain and horror at what they had become. These were things I had never known, but were taken from me by this curse. As the memory ended, I felt an itching and warmth welling up in my eyes that escaped upon blinking. Tears. Merfolk could not cry, but somehow I did. Oh, so you're currently on your class break? Oh, that's cool. All right, so I'm going to read the first chapter as well. So chapter 1. As I woke up, I uncurled myself from the strange shape I had formed within my shell. My shell was cold. It always was. Everything here was cold. My shell, the palace, even the people were cold. Coldness is in our nature, my grandfather told me once, during one of the few times they allowed me to interact with him without my father present. My father, the Crown Prince Abdil, didn't like it when I spoke with grandfather alone. It was like father didn't trust him. Why wouldn't he trust grandfather? He was our king, the king of Zorabella, and he was almost kind. At least, I thought that was the human word for the way he treated me. Grandfather was a great ruler. He'd been the king of Zorabella since the beginning, since our transformation into merfolk. Mariah! I heard someone shout my name from the other side of the bedroom door. I groaned, trying to pull up my blankets and keep my shell closed to feign sleep. The servant who shouted my name knocked. Sleep was beyond me now. I sat up, eyelids heavy, as I told her to enter. She was new. I'd never seen her before. Not that I really paid attention to the servants within my father's employ. She appeared young, but with merfolk, it was hard to tell. A mermaid could look like a middle-aged human, but in reality be thousands of years old. Like father and grandfather. Both were present when our people were transformed into merfolk. Grandfather was the king when it happened, when Gaia cursed us. The servant tried to grab my attention by reminding me that today was my 16th birthday. As was custom, I was to go through the same rite of passage as most children, the rite. They only allowed most noble children of the sea on the 16th birthday to go to the surface world and experience what humans were like. The only exceptions to the rite of passage were those who were considered to be unimportant, the children of servants, who would also be required to work as servants, those who lacked beauty, those who were weak of mind, magic, and body. Maidens were forbidden from ever going to the human world and completing this rite, unless their fathers allowed them. They considered us unimportant. We were rarely allowed to study the ancient arts or even learn the basics of reading, writing, or numbers. This was because maidens, at least in Zorabella, need not know this unless our fathers believed we should. For most maidens in Zorabella, there was no choice, no power. Their lives were based on the whims of their male relatives. I was one of the lucky ones. My father was a good merman. He encouraged me to learn anything I wanted. He ensured that I could learn to read, write, my numbers, and even the basics of the ancient arts. I had every opportunity to excel, to be curious. That curiosity often got me into trouble. Father said I reminded him of a creature that lived on the surface, one that we used to keep as companions when we had legs instead of fins. A cat, he called it, because my curiosity would kill me one day. I had to be careful. I could be curious, I could ask questions, but I could only ask those questions with him, not the servants, and certainly not grandfather. I dismissed the servants so I could get ready for the day. I made myself presentable so I could leave my home to explore Zorabella once I had completed my duties. If I was lucky, I'd have a chance to explore the ruins. As I swam towards the exit, I heard my father chuckle. Excited, are we? About what? I said, trying to hide my intentions. Today is your rite of passage, he said. You'll be a young woman soon. It won't be until sunset tonight. I still have time to complete my duties before wandering around the city and... Visit the ruins? He asked. What? Of course not. I know not to go there, I said, avoiding his eyes. I know you, Mariah. You're my daughter. Just promise me something. What, father? Don't go beyond the ruins of the ancient port. It is dangerous. Sharks are often hiding in areas near the port, waiting at the edge of our borders, warded off by the magic that protects us. All right, I said, rolling my eyes. I wasn't stupid. I could sense the boundary, and I knew the risks. But as I turned to leave, my father said one more thing. Remember to return before dinner. You need that time to get ready for the ride. That's the end of chapter 1. What did you think? I could read another chapter if you would like. It's up to you. Thank you. Would you like me to read another chapter? She's turning, so at the start, it's her 16th birthday. So Mariah's 16. Yeah, so she's, yeah. Cool. All right. And so chapter 2. Zorabella was an enormous city before the fall, but our population was decimated in the aftermath of the curse. Some people didn't survive the sinking of the city, as they were crushed beneath debris or drowned before they could be transformed. Some were killed because of the severe damage done to this island as it sank. More died because of the transformation failing to take hold, both as it fell and in the years afterwards. The census prior to the fall was clear. As a direct consequence of the fall, we lost 60% of our population, reducing it to 10,000. Since then, our population had only reached 20,000, as we were slow to reproduce due to our long lifespan. There had been a recent spike in births that had continued over the last 30 years, a mere blink to a mermaid, which is why I had been assigned duties within my father's palace, more than what a maiden of the royal family would normally be assigned. According to my grandfather, this was meant to prepare me for my duties as a wife upon marriage to a merman of noble blood, whether I wished it or not. As a result, I was expected to manage my father's estate under supervision. I had to ensure that the rosters for each servant were displayed ahead of time, that each task was delegated to the appropriate servant, take stock of supplies, and order more if we were low. Occasionally, I had to supervise the new servants to ensure that proper procedure was followed. Things like laundry duty or repairs in my father's personal palace were two of the things that I often had to supervise, as I was one of the few in the palace that was trusted to use magic. I was one of the few who had knowledge of magic and the ability to fix any damage caused by the servants when they used magic to complete their tasks. Servants had to use their magic to remove stains caused by magic or algae growth from our clothes and repair any damage done to the clothes or building itself. Lehaser et hakatem, I heard a servant mutter while attempting to remove a large stain from the shirt, while another servant was attempting to fix the spell damage on the flooring in the corridor by casting a spell repeatedly because they lacked the power to do it instantly. Letaken et hazek. However, servants were not trusted to use magic independently, without the supervision of a noble or royal, even if they were a maiden. Not that I agreed with it. I had seen them perform these same tasks for years, and they never made a mistake. Despite this, I was meant to supervise them, even though all I wanted was to leave the palace to explore Zorabella. Today, though, instead of actively supervising them like I was supposed to, I spent the time staring out of the window in boredom. From my position in the laundry room, I could see the entire city. The water was tinged a light bluish green, as the orbs of light placed strategically around the city gave off a bright glow that allowed us to separate the day and night. The light reflected off the smooth stone and coral that was used to build the homes and walls of the citadel. Despite the beauty of the city, there was a darkness hidden within that made me feel uneasy. But before I could ponder on this further, the servant I was meant to be supervising said, "My lady, I completed the laundry and repairs of the articles of clothing, as well as spell damage on the flooring in the corridor." "Excellent. Dismiss." "Yes, my lady." A chime rang through the palace, signalling the noon break, which meant that my duties for the day were finished, and I could finally wander around the city. That's the end of chapter 2. Do you have any questions you would like to ask me about the story so far? Even just questions about the writing process or things like that. How did I come up with the idea? I initially was watching one of Alexa Dunn's videos on fairytale retellings. And as she was talking about how Alexa Dunn, and there was a couple of other videos about fairytale retellings, and I thought one of the activities we had to do was thinking about our favorite fairy tale. Little Mermaid was always my favorite. I loved it, both the Disney and the original. And I wanted to do something a little bit different than what's normally done in the retellings, because normally it follows the same plot. I wanted to do something different. I wanted my protagonist, my hero, to fight for something, to actually be an active participant. And I thought it'd be fun to do a darker sort of story, and put a darker twist on The Little Mermaid, because a lot of the ones I'd read had been a bit more lighthearted or fun. And I just like the idea of magic and just making it something that was powerful, but also was very dangerous to the people who both used it and people it was used on. Yeah. 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 Well, I actually plan on making this a series. So the story itself, Voiceless, can be read as a standalone. But I will be making. I'm planning a series of making it into a series of 5 books. One for, well, when you read it, you'll know. One for each important character that appears in Voiceless. And I'm planning on trying to incorporate like different fairy tales within this mermaid universe. So the next one, it's going to be like a mix between Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast. I am currently doing the first draft for that. Hopefully I can get that done by the end of NaNoWriMo. Yeah, and I am a fan of Harry Potter. I grew up watching it, and I really did love the movies, and I love the books too. My My favorite book probably would be Deathly Hallows from Harry Potter. That was like the most interesting. It was the longest, but it was the most interesting out of them. And I did the Hogwarts like Sorting Hat test a couple of times. I always get either Hufflepuff. I got Hufflepuff and Slytherin the 2 times I did it. So the first one I got was a Hufflepuff. You're a Slytherin? Cool. Yeah, so I got Hufflepuff and Slytherin. They were the 2 ones that I got for the test. I didn't get any of the other houses. They were the ones that showed up. Oh god. Yeah. What's your favorite book? Your favorite book in Harry Potter is The Prisoner of Azkaban? Yeah, Sirius Black is awesome. He's probably one of my favorites. He's really awesome. I like him and Severus Snape. Severus Snape in the movies. The books not so much. But yeah, Prisoner of Azkaban was good. It was different to all the others. Yeah, it's pretty good. All right. Well, if you do have to go to class, I will be uploading this once the live is finished. So if I continue and talk a bit more about the story and stuff, you can finish watching it. And if you want to read more from this, the book is available via some online libraries like Overdrive. So you can access it from the online library. And I think there's some more sample chapters that you can read that you can get through either Amazon, Apple, and even Google as well if you wanted to read a little bit more. Yeah. Thank you for coming to the live stream, Delightful Mystery. Right. Cool. If you haven't, do you have any other questions you would like to ask me before you go? Ooh, if I were a character in your book, what do you think I should be? I'm a bookworm, by the way. Ooh, that'd be interesting. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of a character. Amari is pretty badass. She is pretty cool. Amari, either Amari or Mariah. Amari is going to be introduced in like chapter 3 or chapter 4. But Amari and Mariah would be some really cool characters you could be. Bookworm. Yeah, I'm a bookworm too. I read, like, sometimes I read, like, I could read 2 books a day sometimes. Sometimes 2 books about the same size as this or bigger. So because I love reading. Okay. Do you have any other questions you would like to ask? Any favorite series or stories? Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett is hilarious. It is a comedy of errors. I absolutely adore it. 100 Days of Sunlight is by Emma Simmons. No. 100 Days of Sunlight is really good. It's also by an indie author. Trying to think, what other series do I read? I mainly read standalones, to be honest. Death Note, Another Note, the LABB murder cases. That is an absolutely awesome book that you definitely should read. It is really cool. It is really cool. So I do recommend it. John Green. Oh, so you read John Green books? I'll have a look into that. I'll have a look into that. Just it should be interesting. Sea Witch by Sarah Henning is also another good book that you definitely should read. It's a Little Mermaid, or it's about the sea witch from the Little Mermaid, but it's really cool. It's really well written. So John Green books, kind of comedy romance. Yeah, that sounds interesting. I'll have a look into it. I do have a massive TBR pile that I have yet to go through, but I'm always in the search of more books. Fault of Our Stars. Yeah, I've heard of that one. Yeah, I'll have a look into that. I've been meaning to read that for a while. Yeah, I hope it. Well, if you do end up reading them, I hope you like them. I'm more than happy to hear what you think about those stories, and any recommendations for books is always welcome. Hazelwood. So John Green books, Fault in Our Stars, Hazelwood. I'll write that down, actually. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I'm always in search of books. I'll probably do another Basic Girl Project. Okay, that is interesting. There was a book that was recommended to me. I just started reading it, haven't finished it yet. That is pretty good. It is, I think it's of Fire and Stars. It's on my Goodreads want to read list. I've just had a look at that and see it's very interesting if you like fairy tale retellings. One of the people at the bookstore recommended it to me. It's pretty good so far. Have you read off the page about the girl that made a fictional crochet? I haven't read that one, no. I'll have a look. I'll have a look into it. Yeah. Cool. Thank you for the suggestions. I'm definitely going to have a look into it. The bookstores will open, I think, on the 2nd of November here in Melbourne, because everything has been shut down here in Melbourne. So 2nd of November, I'm going straight to the bookshop and adding to my TBR pile. Yeah, I'll check out those suggestions. Yeah. Yeah. You too. Okay. Stay safe. I hope everything goes well with class. See a delightful mystery. All right. Okay. So I did some interview questions for a publishing site. It's nice to meet you, Faith. And I'm really happy you enjoyed talking with me. All right, cool. Yeah. So I did some Q&A questions with a publishing site. So yeah, I'll just talk a little bit about me. And I'll end it soon. All right, see ya. All right. So one of the things that inspired me, because a couple of questions they asked was like, so one of the things they asked me was about a bit about me, and how many books I've written. So, a bit about me. So, I am an Australian Uruguayan teacher of English and humanities from Melbourne, Australia. I generally write in the fantasy, sci-fi, and coming of age genres in both YA and adult. Even if in adult YA and adult categories, even if it is in the adult category, the style is more for YA. I mainly worked on short stories and poetry before publishing my novel. But I did short stories in a mix of languages, a mix of English, Spanish, and even incorporating some words from the Chorua language from Uruguay. Some of the remaining words that still are around, because it's in my background. I eventually plan on publishing these short stories and poems. With the Little Mermaid, with Voiceless. This is with Voiceless. Voiceless is currently my only novel. It's my only published work. The initial idea for this story came to me as I watched the writing videos by my favorite authors on YouTube, and I was also listening to Poor Unfortunate Souls on repeat. So it kind of got stuck in my head, and I just started planning and writing. I loved Little Mermaid growing up, which is kind of why my first book is Little Mermaid inspired. The Little Mermaid was different. She was an outsider who sacrificed everything for love. She struggled with her identity and with finding her place in the world, in a world that basically silenced her. And those were things that really grabbed my attention with The Little Mermaid. It's because she was so unique. There were things in the Disney version and in the fairy tale that kind of made me uncomfortable. So when I wrote Voiceless, I thought about the choices the Little Mermaid made in the original tale, and I knew I wanted her to make different choices to grow up as a person rather than a damsel in distress. There were moments in both versions where the Little Mermaid stood up for herself and made choices of her own. I wanted my Little Mermaid to be more than a mermaid who fell in love with a human at first sight. I wanted her to be her own person. While that was what inspired me to write my novel, not many people know this, but they don't really. That's what inspired me to write this novel. But I was originally intending to write a short story like normal, but one of the reasons why I actually wrote it as a novel and then decided to publish it, well, first off, I wrote the initial draft as part of NaNoWriMo. It was my NaNoWriMo project from last year. But I decided to write the novel, participate in NaNoWriMo for the first time, even though I had heard of it beforehand. And actually write it because my English class last year, so I taught Year 9 English last year, they were writing their own coming-of-age dystopian stories for an assessment. So I decided to basically plan, write, and edit my own story alongside them, so they would have an example for when they actually wrote theirs, an example they could look at and get ideas from. That, and I wanted to get them interested in writing. And I promised them that I would publish my subverted Little Mermaid novel. So I told my Year 9s I plan on publishing it. I promised that I would, and I have. Yeah. So, but so a couple of things. So a couple of other questions they asked me for the interview that they gave me was about additional or unusual writing habits. Now, I don't have any. I'm not sure if I have any unusual writing habits, but I've noticed that for every story I write, for nearly every single character, I try to give them a name that has a meaning that's connected to their personality, an element of the plot, a theme, a personality trait, and all that. Moriah actually means the Lord is my teacher, or chosen by the Lord. It depends on the spelling of the name. It's a Hebrew name. I mainly chose that name for the irony. And when you get up to chapter 3, when you get further along in the story, you'll understand the irony. So what authors or books have influenced me? So Neil Gaiman and Sarah Henning are definitely two of the biggest influences. Both of their writing styles are really interesting and engaging, and I really love their writing. Susan Collins, The Hunger Games. Kalinda Ashton, The Danger Game. Now, The Danger Game is is written by an Australian author. I wrote it for uni, and I absolutely love it. I definitely recommend it. Lewis Lowry's The Giver is a fairly short read. It's a dystopian novel. It's really unique for a dystopian novel, and I definitely recommend you check it out. A couple of other questions they asked me. So they asked me, what am I working on now? So I am currently working on my first draft of the sequel for Voiceless, A Mermaid's Tale. I basically plan on making making Voiceless the first in the series. At the moment, it will most likely be a series of standalone companion novels, which is basically stories written from the perspectives of different characters. I'm planning for a series of 5 full-length novels. One of them will be a direct sequel to the first one, or a sequel that happens a few years after the first novel. But I plan on making it so that all of them can be read as standalones. So I plan on writing this first draft. I've started it, and I plan on finishing the first draft for this sequel, which I'm currently calling Unspoken, for NaNoWriMo 2020, which is next month. It starts in a couple of days, actually. Hopefully, I can get some basic grammar editing before, and fixing up the grammar and style before I give it to a developmental editor by mid-December. I'm planning on publishing the sequel in October. So about a year after my release of my debut novel, simply because I work full-time and getting it done quicker than a year while possible, because I am a pretty fast writer, with full-time teaching and planning and all that for lessons and doing parent-teacher interviews and all that sort of stuff. It takes a big chunk of my time. Yeah, so I'm planning on publishing in a year, hopefully. I was also asked about advice for new authors. So I'm a new author myself. So I have plenty to learn when it comes to writing advice. One of the best pieces of advice I actually heard was to set aside time specifically for writing. It didn't have to be every day, but if you set aside specific time for writing, it makes it easier to get into the routine of writing consistently. I mean, I noticed with NaNoWriMo last year that, because I had to write every day for NaNoWriMo to meet my word goal, I would set aside specific hours to write, or there were specific days where I would go to live writing events where I would do the bulk of my word count for the week. And after the first week and a half, I had actually started being able to like get down, knuckle down, really do my writing effectively. Best writing advice. So I was asked the best writing advice. One of the best pieces of writing advice that I've actually heard is basically to just focus on writing on your story. The first draft is basically just to get your ideas down. It doesn't have to be perfect. It will most likely have plot holes or walls if you get stuck, but and there'll be gaps in the story or in the character background or development, and that's okay. With the first draft, you're just getting your ideas down. Your first draft is kind of like your plan or your roadmap. You're just getting it down, and then when you go back and read over it and you make changes, you fill in the gaps, you add background to the story, to the characters, you flesh them out so they're like real people rather than characters. You can fix all that. You can fix the plot holes and the gaps in the story and the gaps in the character background or character development. But you have to get those ideas down first. That's basically what developmental editing is for. It's to fix any gaps in the story. And if you don't write anything, you can't really fix it. So with the first draft for Voiceless, I just wrote. I didn't edit anything. I just wrote the whole story. If I got stuck, because I was doing it for NaNoWriMo, if I got stuck on a particular scene, I knew that scene had to happen, but I didn't know how to write it from Mariah's perspective. I'm like, okay, what other character is in that scene? And I go, okay, I'll write it from that character's point of view. So I would, for the first draft, I changed perspectives between different characters because at the moment, I didn't know exactly how to show that particular scene or write that particular scene in the point of view of my main character. So I wrote it from someone else's point of view, which actually really helped get the story finished. I ended up finishing my first draft. This is about 60,000 words, a 60,000 word first draft in about 35 days, so just over a month. I ended up having to write the additional 40,000 words after developmental editing, which was like pulling teeth. I am a big procrastinator. Even if I can plan everything, but it doesn't feel real until I get to the deadline. I keep on putting stuff off because I just put stuff off. I'm just a massive procrastinator. I have to have reminders and things to basically get me to actually sit down and do it. Anyway, yeah, so that's pretty much it for the interview questions that they did. Now, if you do read, so you can buy Voiceless in paperback and ebook at the moment. You can order it from Amazon. You can order the paperback from Amazon or from Barnes & Noble. Barnes & Noble also has it. If you live in the US, the paperback is, I think $15.99. The ebook in the US is currently $4.99. $4.99. It is the same it's $4.99. Ebook is $4.99 in the UK, $5.99 in the EU. Australia's $6.99. Canada's, the price in Canada for ebook is $4.99 as well. So you can order this. You can actually go into the bookstore if you want paperback. You would just need the name of the name, subtitle, and author name, or even just the ISBN number, which you can actually get off Amazon. Because I use the same companies most bookstores order their books from. I use Ingram Spark for my paperback, so you can actually go into a bookstore as long as you have the ISBN and actually order it directly from them. Yeah, so, and as a new release, as a debut author, particularly as an independent author, reviews really help. If you want to support me, if you want to support me, leaving an honest review on your favorite platform or where you purchased your book from would really help. It helps improve. It helps get us noticed on Goodreads, and it helps us get us noticed on Amazon and things like that. So if you want to support me, if you read Voiceless, leaving a review would really help. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for everyone who attended and who watched. I'm planning on doing more live streams in the future. When I get the hardback and large print copies that I've ordered from Ingram Spark, I will most likely do a video showing the covers for those, and just doing a bit about that. I am planning on finishing Deathless Girls, Save the Cat, and Punishment by Anne Holt. They're the three that I'm currently pushing to finish reading, and I'm planning on reviewing those and doing reviews on my channel. But if you have any topics or things you would like me to talk about on or do videos on, whether it's about writing process, whether it's books, whether it's how to create a book cover, I can do a video about how to create book covers, because I had to create the dust jacket for the hardback edition because I forgot to order it from my cover designer. So whatever ideas you have on what I could do for videos, I'm more than happy to listen to them. You can leave those ideas in the comments below. Yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the live stream and my live reading. I plan on, when I get to it, for fun on the National Native Language Day, I think it's what it's called, doing a reading of Voiceless, or at least the prologue and maybe the first chapter in Spanish, just cause it's fun. If you're interested in that, leave a comment down below. I have currently no plans on doing an audiobook. I have a cover for it, but at the moment I am not I'm waiting to see how this does as an ebook, hardback cover and all that before I even get to creating an audiobook. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys liked it. If you want me to do writing sprints or do other types of live reading, I'm more than happy to do it. Just leave comments down below. Let me know what you guys think.